and welcome to the presentation regarding AutoCAD and AutoCAD Electrical and kind of how to get started and how to make that transition. My name is Brian Verbort, and I'm a solution specialist here at M2 Technologies. Hopefully you guys are in the right place, and happy Friday to everyone. Here's our agenda for the day. And we'll start out by covering some information that's going to be valuable for you to know in the process of preparing yourself to transition to the use of AutoCAD Electrical. We'll go through some of the high points, the installation of the software, customization of the software, a couple different ways to do that, and the deployment. We'll get into details on that shortly. Whether you want to be utilizing a multi-user environment, the importance of a template in this environment using AutoCAD Electrical, especially in a multi-user environment. We'll talk about the electrical projects and how they're leveraged and how you can prepare them for use, as well as work through some of the conversion tools that are available to us in AutoCAD Electrical, specifically for users like maybe yourselves that have been using maybe AutoCAD Electrical but not taking advantage of the intelligence that it provided, or even maybe just using the AutoCAD product and been getting through and getting by using that methodology. Is very common. But there are several conversion tools that are helpful in transitioning your existing projects or older projects that might be coming back up for rework or reuse. So we'll cover those. We'll talk about specifically those conversion tools for lines, wires, ladders, wire numbers, schematic components of all types, source and destination arrows. And then we'll also cover some specific information related to training. So hopefully you find those topics tantalizing, and hope that this information will be useful. First, a little bit about M2 Technologies. We're a manufacturing consulting firm. I've been in business for almost 25 years now. In 7 locations across the US. We're tightly aligned with our Microdesk partner. We tend to work in the manufacturing businesses and specifically have talent internally with decade over decade of experience in the manufacturing environment. But we also realize that that's not the only industry in play here. Many of you might be straddling industries, and so we do the same. We use and work with and depend on Microdesk to provide architectural engineering, construction, intelligence, and expertise. So that's why we're partners with them. The services we deliver are listed here, everything from CAD management through to training and standards development. I won't read off the list. You can see those items listed. Interesting stuff coming, onto the forefront with generative design, and CIO advisory services are becoming more and more popular with the new security landscape. So if you are thinking that and had considered maybe in the past or maybe currently in making the move from AutoCAD to AutoCAD Electrical, this is going to be the presentation that will helpfully give you some guidelines as to how to approach that. Obviously, we also deliver services that would lead you through that process, but there will be some detailed information as well as some high-level information provided in the time that we have available to us today. First of all, preparing to move into using AutoCAD Electrical might mean that you need to install and configure the software. So the way that you do that is through your Autodesk account. So if you've got a user permissions that allows you, your organization has set you up with the authority and permissions to download the software, then you could just use your Autodesk.com account. So and acquire the software that way. Several versions of the product are available to you. Current version and 5 releases back are available in most cases, but your specific situation might vary. So downloading the software is a good start, and that's done for, I typically use the manage.autodesk.com in order to make sure that I'm entering as the manager and I have authority to go ahead and apply or download the software. So once you're there, the probably easiest and best way is for you to create a deployment that makes it a little bit easier. It packages up the installation of the software itself. So one of the things that you might find yourself wanting to do is install the application on many different computers, and this would be a great way to accomplish that. So Autodesk has a newer deployment creation method called custom install, and you'll find that listed under your products and services in your Autodesk account. That provides you with a list of the products that you own, and you can select those and add them to the products to be contained in your deployment. Usually it will default to the most current release of the products that you select, and just the products you select. This is more AutoCAD Electrical focused, so we'll be kind of drilling in on the things that are unique to AutoCAD Electrical. So if you're creating a deployment for AutoCAD Electrical, you could certainly accomplish that fairly quickly. Steps are fairly easy, and there's documentation, lots of documentation out there for how to accomplish that. So once selecting custom install as your preferred method of creating your deployment, then you can go in and you can tailor the information that will be contained within the deployment itself. So you see here, once entering the custom install and selecting AutoCAD Electrical, you have an opportunity to do one of two things. Is you can add customizations for the product, behavior and where resources are going to be located, etc. And you can also modify the extensions that will be included so that you can get a good package, essentially, that you could then distribute in your organization to users or share if you've gone through the process as a user and have authority to do this. Then you could share that with other users in your organization. A lot of this information in the customizations area is important for AutoCAD Electrical, the types of standards that you're using and units of measure, those types of things. So there's a pretty significant, and this is an eye chart. I mean, it's not meant to be read here, but just to give you an idea of what the page looks like and where you can make those adjustments for what you like included in the package that you're about to download and install. Specifically, in the custom installation, again, you get the ability to choose the version of the product. So if you're down rev and having to stay compatible with maybe another part of your organization or a customer or a vendor, then you can install the latest or whichever number of products release versions back. The extensions also allow you to add things in like the performance reporting tool and one of my favorites, the content migration utility, that once a user installs the software and launches it, they get the opportunity to migrate over their customizations into the latest release. Once you've configured your deployment using the customizations, etc., then you'll be asked to download the software, provide a location, and it will download the executable that contains not only the application itself, but also the settings predefined, predetermined that you took the time to go through in the previous couple of slides there. If you're not familiar with AutoCAD Electrical, this will just be informational for some of you, but if you're not familiar with AutoCAD Electrical and the way it works, it's a very simple process or simple program that can become complex depending on your organization and what you're trying to do. But the reality is behind the software, there is just a text file essentially that defines all the various environment settings and locations where resources are going to be pulled from in the application and during its use. So it's pretty simple. If you're familiar with this, you know that you can just go right into that XML file. It has a wd.env essentially nomenclature. File extension is that wd.env file. So you can edit these things directly. So if you made a mistake or your needs change after you get your deployment created and installed on your computer, you can always come in and make adjustments to the behaviors, locations, etc. here. Specifically, this is important when you're doing the deployment to know whether or not you want to have a multi-user environment where all the resources, symbols, and libraries and footprint drawings, all of those things are pulled from a common location so that each user sees the same thing and can also take advantage of maybe someone that's created some custom content, some footprint drawings or things that are unique that you just didn't see in the library that comes with AutoCAD Electrical. So being able to enhance and extend that, and then obviously sharing that essentially with the organization by just making a modification in a single source. Certainly helpful. So once that's been done, and you've determined whether you want shared settings and define the locations for those shared settings, in the deployment, you'll see the option here to do the shared symbol libraries and the shared catalog database support files. So just kind of reinforcing visually here in a PowerPoint slide that could be done, pre-done in the deployment as well as after the fact. Certainly simpler to do it in the deployment. That way, everyone gets the same thing installed on their computer with the common resources associated with it. As mentioned, the text file that's available to you in the environment.env file can be modified manually after the fact. So if you've already got the product installed and configured and everyone's working kind of isolated from one another, you could run through the process. It's well documented and we can help you with it as well. That would allow you to move things around essentially to rework the standalone environment into one that would support and encourage people to use common resources into a single path. Little more information, not to get too down into the weeds on things, but you can see the types of resources that are used here and the types of settings that are modified. Symbols libraries, which standard are you working to, et cetera, and then where are the databases that are storing the information for devices, those types of things. This is the detail that goes into making a decision how you're going to be working with AutoCAD Electrical, what your needs are going to be, and then adjusting the installation of the product so that it works that way seamlessly and easily for everyone in the organization. So once you've got your installation configured and downloaded, there's certainly importance placed on the template in this particular environment. Like with most software applications, if you can kind of build a smart template, then you're ahead of the game when you go to create new designs. It really gives you a great jump start on getting that project going and making sure you're capturing some of the intelligence as well. So the template that is in AutoCAD Electrical is designed to be reworked by you to make customizations to it to meet your needs in your company or for your customers or in working with your vendors. So there's an intelligent title block here, and if you're still using AutoCAD for your electrical schematics designs, it's possible that you have already an attributed title block that someone along the way has kind of developed for you. Great thing to have as a common resource for all users in the organization, again, when you're talking about the multi-user. So the template is what's drawn from when you create new projects or new designs that are in your projects. We'll talk more in detail about that. The things that are in the template are things like wire types, what the panel configurations look like and how they act and what they display. The other thing about templates and their storage of information is it just makes it a lot easier to get things started on a new project. But there's also some great ways to transition, maybe to using an existing project and transitioning it to be more of like a save copy as kind of a thing. With the intelligent information that's here, especially with the wire types, et cetera, it's great to have a template that can be easily imported into an existing design and then adjusted, maybe to meet some unique need that might be in that design. Could be different from what was anticipated when the template was built. So specifically talking a little bit more about a project, I mentioned what project, project this, project that. It's important to note that a project is really just a grouping of interrelated drawings. It has a name, it has a location where it's stored, and it has behaviors associated with the templates and the settings that we'd seen previously in the panel layout, et cetera. It allows you to organize your drawings in a way that makes it easy for not only you, but others to navigate through as needed. There's lots of description information and some great reporting that can be accomplished depending on how extensively you might be using some of the metadata, let's just call it, that you add into your title blocks or even into the project itself. So there's property information that can be leveraged downstream and into the future on your projects. So from your perspective, or our perspective as maybe someone considering moving to AutoCAD Electrical from AutoCAD, it's important to know that you can get off to a good start here. So if I have existing designs, I can easily bring those into the fold, into the context of a project. So essentially being able to create a new project and then add existing drawings to that project to be managed in that way from that point forward. Super helpful and a very easy process. We'll give you an example of what that looks like and how to essentially take your files that might just be floating around on a disk in a subfolder somewhere with a customer's name on it and build them into a project that allows you to really do a little bit higher functioning types of activities with reporting, et cetera. So being able to add existing data, your existing designs into a project and then move it forward with the electrical capabilities enabled is super helpful. So again, the projects and then the associated title blocks that come from the template and those types of things, a great way and an easy way to develop your designs, keep them organized, and to get information out of them be able to find your way back to them as needed, and of course the reporting. Just a couple more slides, bear with me, and then I'm going to go into some demonstration. I'm kind of doing this split up the way I am so that we don't have to bounce back and forth between the PowerPoint and the demonstration section. So we'll get through the PowerPoint here, positioning things, and then we'll get hands-on in front of you. I mentioned kind of in the overview that we'll be looking at the conversion tools that are available, that if you've looked at AutoCAD Electrical, you may have seen some of them. Pretty extensive list of tools you can bring to bear on this very specific task of moving from AutoCAD to AutoCAD Electrical. You may or may not already own Electrical. There's a really good chance that you do. If you've got an AutoCAD product, if you've got AutoCAD or any number of other Autodesk products, the tool sets are already include the AutoCAD Electrical, the vertical products for AutoCAD Electrical. So you may actually already have AutoCAD Electrical. Certainly a good question to ask. You can reach out to us and we can let you know if you have access to that, to the product, and then start considering and planning your deployment of it. So switching wires from one type to another, that can be, you know, a tedious task when you're working in a traditional way in AutoCAD Electrical, or just in AutoCAD maybe, or AutoCAD Electrical not using the capabilities. So it's one of those things where we can really, there's a lot of advantages to using AutoCAD Electrical. And one of them is to be able to switch lines to wires, and then to switch those wires between types of wires. So different definitions, different gauges, different colors, etc. All those things that are dynamic and change frequently in maybe your organization and your designs. When you're using electrical, they're just much easier to do. They're more comprehensive, and there's less error-prone types of mistakes where, you know, I remember to update it here on this particular drawing, but I forgot to do it on this other one. So really the quality of the designs that are coming out of an organization that's using AutoCAD Electrical is usually a bit better. Just simply not for the lack of effort, but you know, there's just a lot to remember you have to do manually in an AutoCAD environment where you're doing schematics. If you're using ladder logic, Autodesk has built in the conversion capabilities there as well. So to be able to take lines and organize them and recognize them as wires, and then take those wires and have them configured and structured in ladders. So we're supporting point-to-point as well as those working in ladder logic environment. All right, I think that's my last slide. We'll go to the thank you slide again here in a second. Our presentation's not over. We're just about to get hands-on here. So thanks for your patience through the PowerPoint deck. Hopefully you position things cleanly for you so that you'll have a better understanding of what the value might be as I give different demonstrations, different parts of the product. We have to come back to any of these slides. I'll just minimize them for now and bring them up as needed. I'm going to transition right over into AutoCAD Electrical now, and we'll get started. Oh, I launched the wrong product. I'm assuming that most of you at one time or another have done that as well. Let's just see if I can't push that into the background and just get us going right away. Let's transition this out. It's an older version of electrical. I think it's down here, maybe. There it is. So I'm going to be using AutoCAD Electrical 2022, which is the latest version of the product. There is, I believe, a service pack out that's available for it as well. If you want to get off on a good start, you might as well start there. While you're up on the Autodesk site, you notice that you do have the ability to download and create that deployment for the latest version of the product. That also will include the latest patches that are available, so that you don't have to do those separately. Although you can download them separately and install those patches using the desktop application, or even download from the Autodesk site and manually installing them. So this is a look at the user interface. I'm going to go ahead and just minimize a couple things on my screen so it doesn't look quite so cluttered. So here we are in AutoCAD Electrical 2022. This is the project manager section in the upper left-hand corner here, and that's where we're talking about the projects being created. And notice I've got a list of projects here with a name that I chose to be part of our presentation today. I'm going to go ahead and switch projects. You can see the NFPA demo project here. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to just activating a different project. So here's a project that I've just switched to. So if I was going back and forth between different products and different designs and different customers, this is a really easy way to accomplish that. Keep everything tidy, keep everything siloed, I suppose. All the things that are related to one another, just that in an organized fashion. So you'll notice that this project has organization beneath it. You can divide things up the way you want to by system type or what have you. In this case, you can see there's some subheadings here for schematics information and panel drawings, etc., that might all be contributing factors into your design. So here with this project active, I'll show you how to create a new one here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and just open up the template file that we've been talking about. It looks like I've got my file dia is on here, so we're going to go ahead and fix that. I suffer from some of the same things that you guys do. The file dia, the file dialog box sometimes goes away. So another thing that I'm going to do is, before we get too far along here, this panel for the catalog browser is very helpful, but it does take up a significant amount of screen space here. So I'm just going to right click on the heading for that and just do an auto hide on it so that we can kind of clean up the user interface just a little bit. Now let's go back and see if I can get that template file open. Oh, doesn't look like I need to change. So file dia, enter. It should be set to 1 for those of you wondering. There we go. And that should give me the dialog box when I go to open a document. So because we're talking about a template, that's exactly what I'm going to go searching for. Let's take a look at the template, its contents, and how to modify it. So I'll start with a DWT filter here, and then I'll go ahead and just navigate to the location where the template's stored. So here's the DWT file, my template DWT file. I'll go ahead and open that up, and then we'll start investigating a little bit more detail what that contains. So in this case, the template has a title block. Go ahead and zoom up on it. You can see that there's some information there associated with it. You'll also notice I hover over that, it's a block. And so within the block, there's attributed information that is extracted and modified here. I can make changes to this by just doing a simple double left click on it, and that brings up my block editor environment. And I'm just going to make some adjustments. Maybe these aren't the descriptions or the titles that you'd like to see. So I'll just take the title 1 entry on the title block over there and edit that to be, project description. Okay, and when I apply that, you see that happening kind of real time as I'm working in these attributed blocks. And then here I'll use the title 2 maybe as an opportunity for drawing description. And you can imagine that this might be super helpful if you wanted to change the name of the project, or if you wanted to change the description for drawing. It's just as easy as doing it here, and it can propagate to each sheet that you might have in your design. I'll select OK, and you'll see that there's the template and the new headings that I've placed in it. So that intelligence that's built into that block allows us to do a really vast kind of improvement when it comes to searching for stuff, because these properties that we're adding here and that are being managed by AutoCAD Electrical are searchable, so it makes it easy for you to find your way. You can see a few things of interest here. I'm going to drill down into, let's talk about creating wires. So on my schematic tab across the top here, I'll go ahead and go to the tool that allows me to create or edit wire types. So as I come into this dialog box, I'm just simply going to put I'm just going to put a few in because my typing skills aren't excessively speedy. So I'll go ahead and we'll just make a color first. So we'll start out with the color. I'll go with blue. And then as I advance forward, you can see it already building out the name of the wire for me. So where there's a layer name that's going to be created, and it's going to have a wire name associated with that. That's a combination of the color that I'm entering here and the gauge I'm about to enter. So the size of the file of that, I'm just going to go with a 12 numerical wire gauge. And as I transition over, it starts to build out that wire naming. So the layer name and the wire name contain the color and the gauge, which is super helpful. I can do that, at any number of sections here. I'll do just a couple of blue wires, just so you can see the process. And instead of 12 gauge, and then we'll do 14 gauge. And just for variety, we'll do a red wire. And I'll go ahead and transition over that, and that'll be a 14 gauge as well. Okay, so this is the way that we can build wires into our template and then utilize those wires when we're creating a new project. So you could have a fairly extensive, you might imagine a fairly extensive list of wires that would show up here. There's also additional, user defined. I mean, this list, I'm unaware of any limitation here, so it's a fairly extensive list. So once I've created these wires, I'll just simply highlight one of the rows here and OK it. So we built wires into our template. Not only are we getting the smart title block, but we're getting the wires that I can get off to a good start. And I'll show you how to reuse those things as we get a little further along here. So with that done, there's a few other things I might want to add into this template. Use them as a resource, again, to get off on the right foot and make things easy more quickly. And that is to maybe set things up for the panel behaviors and the way that the panels look and feel. So I'll go ahead and just go to the panels panel on the ribbon, and then I'll go over to the configuration of our panels. And as I'm doing that, you see this dialog alert message come up. It's not an error, it's just being informational. So there's some magic that happens behind the scenes with the relationships between documents and how information is stored in databases and in files. And so what this document's basically telling you is it's asking your permission to insert just a special block into this drawing document that'll be invisible and help manage the information that you're adding to your design. So it's just really more or less informational, and you can say no to it, but then you're basically leaving the higher functioning capabilities of AutoCAD Electrical on the table. The block that gets inserted here really helps expedite the creation of your designs if you allow it to do that. Don't panic. It's not a virus that's going to attack you or something unknown. So I got that message on the way to taking a look at the panel customization. So just a few things, we'll just poke at a few of the options here and there, not spending too much time on any of them. But let's just say we wanted to change the balloon setup. the way that the balloons look in our projects. So I could come in and I could set up a standard. I could make, a different size. I could go with, 0.250 for the diameter. Oh, that's not right. So making an adjustment there, just simply okaying that. I can also come in and I can make changes or expose or add to the footprint layer environment that's in the product. So all footprint drawings have a special classification, basically. Let's just call it the layer name that those types of devices and components that you might be putting in your designs are going to be using. So if you've got a manufacturer's item number from Allen Bradley or what have you, anytime you place that into one of your schematic designs, the manufacturer Allen Bradley information will go on a specific layer, PMFG, right? And that's the case. You can add to these by creating your own layer names. You can modify the ones that are here if you would like. I'm a big proponent of leaving things the way that they are out of the box if you can. Certainly there's reasons for customizing stuff, but again, it just can become a burden in an ongoing way if you're making too many customizations as you upgrade from release to release. It's just one more thing that you have to remember and make sure it gets taken care of. So if you can run out of the box, the product is set up to work just that way. Plug it in and go to work with it. But if you have specific needs, there's a lot of capabilities when it comes to customization and making adjustments to the system. We'll just close that up and okay this as well. A few other settings there that you might want to take advantage of at some point if you were so inclined. So now let's take a look at creating a new project. So over here in the project manager, you'll see that I've got some projects here, but we're going to create our own. We're going to make a new one. And we'll do that by just using the new project icon. And we have a couple things that we're going to be setting up as well in here. So we want to make sure, I'll just call it a new project. Okay, and there's some additional information here. Where is that project stored? And we might want to make a change to that location. So right now it's just in a path on my documents folder, but maybe I want it centralized, and we're going to put this project out where multiple people can work on this design at the same time, or maybe it's just out amongst the other projects that are being created by other people in the organization. So you're certainly able to browse and put these projects where you want them. Hopefully you've got some sort of structure that works, whether it be via product type or customer name, those types of things. I'll just go with a desktop location here for purposes of our demonstration. And we'll just put it right in the webinar folder that I have set up. So it's just that easy when we're creating a project. Here's some other information, right? That WDP file, that wiring diagram project, where is that located? Well, it gives me pathing information here, and I can make adjustments to it if need be. But that's the default location. That's based upon the location we chose to store the project, etc. Okay, so information being created here. There's also a whole series of descriptions that we can take advantage of, and this is where the reporting can really come into play. I can have an innumerable number of lines of project description information. So you can imagine where you want to have, not just the type of equipment, but where it's located, which country it's in, which of the facilities it's at, the name of the customer. So all the things that you might want to add that aren't in the software out of the box can be added here. And you also have the ability to enable whether or not those things get included when you're doing reporting on a project. So if I print out a report for, all devices, well, that's going to be a fairly extensive report. If I want to see every device in a design, it's very possible that could be run into hundreds of pages. So, give it some thought. Do you want all of these items that are listed here, all of these project headers, if you will, to be searchable? Maybe they're informational, great information to have, but you may not need to search on all that information in a detailed way. So that's what gives us the ability to do updates on the title box quickly and easy, and really get good information out of the reporting. So that's the descriptions you might use. And then here's some properties specific to the resources that AutoCAD Electrical is using. So we talk about schematic libraries and which libraries are available, right? You can see we've got a GAIC with a 0.125 text size. You know, we've got 2000. This is 2022 libraries. This is the 125 that I just added in, right? So we can make these adjustments here. These are the resources that we're using, and it goes through the process, right? Schematic menu file. Where's the data? Where's the DAT file? What about the panel footprint libraries? Where do those exist? So the information that we can kind of see in that project file, it's dictating where those things are. You can see it and maybe even adjust here too. You might have a mixed project, and you might need to add more libraries here for the icon menus, or include icon menus from a previous design that you've done. And this is the way we can accomplish that. So you can add, browse, remove, or just set everything back to the defaults. So there's a lot to see and know and do here. Or you can just use it the way it's set up to work. Keep it simple. I just picked a location, gave it a name, and I've got a new project that's been created. You can see it here at the top of the project manager. I called it new project, so that's exactly what it's telling us here. Now, the next thing I might want to do is take this new project that I've created and add maybe a design that's in process already, or maybe an older design that was done in AutoCAD that doesn't have the intelligence built in. This is the way you would start that process. So I've got the new project listed here, but you see there's no content. When we're looking at the previous project, there were subfolders and there was content in there. This is completely empty. It's just a brand new project. So if I right click here, I can choose to add drawings. That just simply takes me out to a location where I can find drawings that I might want to include in this project now, kind of adopt them in, so to speak, to the fold for AutoCAD Electrical. So I'll go ahead and take a look. I've got some folder or some AutoCAD documents here. Let me find my way to them. Let's start with the desktop. So I've got just a directory here that has some files in it you saw us playing with previously. So here's an old project, and it has a few drawings in it. It's not huge, it's just got a few things. I can decide, maybe there's a project out there that's important to me, but I want to work on a subset of it and create a new design out of a subset of an old design. So I get the opportunity here to choose whatever it is that I want to include in. I can skip around using Control and Shift Select to determine the drawings that I want included. So I'll just go ahead and add those drawings to the existing project. Along the way, it's going to ask us if we would like to assign the project settings and values to these drawing documents as they come into the project. So we're already seeing some real intelligence here. Do I want to take this design and have it adopt the settings that we created in our template that we then used to create the new project? And so along the way in, it's just asking us whether we're okay with that or not. I'll say yes, absolutely. And it will go through the process of parsing each of those drawing documents and making it meet the standards. Really good way to do QA, by the way. If you have kind of a gold template, then you can essentially take any document that you've created in the past and do this exact step, this process, to make sure that we've got consistency from project to project. So if we take a look now at the project folder, you'll see the drawings have been added. I'll go ahead and just open up one of those drawings, the first one on the list here, and we'll get into a little more of the conversion tools that we spoke about before and what that looks like and how that acts. So one of the common things, and I'm by no means going to be able to go through all the detail and all the capabilities that are here, but I'll just give you a flavor of how the product works and why you might want to start using AutoCAD Electrical and what that looks like, what that transition looks like. So there's just a ladder, schematic ladder diagram, at least at the first sheet here, the 01 drawing that I've got open. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to import I want to bring in the existing wires that we took the time to create in the template that we were working on. So that'll be one of the first things I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Conversion Tools tab, and then I'll just find my way to the to the capability here that allows me to bring those drawings in. So on the Conversion tab, already there, good. I can change or convert the wire type. So it's the same command that you saw when I created the wires in the template. Oh, in this case, let's see. That's not what I meant to do. I'm not seeing my wire layers. What have I done? I should have an import dialog box here. I might be doing something wrong. Oh, that's not the command I was looking for, sorry. One moment, please. Yeah, so here we go. Here's the import button I was looking for. So in this case, I want to go out and I'm going to find that template that we created the wires in. Right? Because as I work my way through this process, I don't want to have to create all those wires over and over again each time I create a new drawing. So I'm just going to use the template to accomplish that. Looks like it may not have done it. Let's see. Let's see what I might have done. It's possible that I put it in the wrong file. I've been known to do that occasionally. Let's see. Bear with me. AutoCAD Electrical. Should have. Let me try this again. Oh, Schematics tab. Definitely has a DWT file. There it is. I wonder why I'm not seeing the wires that we created. It's okay. I can create some of my own if I'd like to. I'll just add one here. Sorry for the redundancy. So the whole idea here is to import those, and I'm not sure why I'm not getting what I expect to see here, but we created them and we can import them. I'm just not finding the way to do that. Okay. No, I'm just going to, in the interest of time, move along here. I'm not sure what I might have done incorrectly there, but we're going to go ahead and do a quick review of the wires that are already here in place on a drawing. So you can see on the ladder, if I hover over, you can see that this is all a bilayer on the layer 0, which is maybe, the way, it's probably pretty common. It's probably the way that you guys are working now. Maybe you're manually assigning wires to layers, or maybe you're just giving them color for those types of things. So what I'm going to do here is I'd like to go ahead and convert the wire types and changing them to be a different color. So what I can do is go ahead and make on my conversion tools here, change and convert the wire type. And I can choose to select an existing wire that might be a matching color and type. And it will make it available to me here, and I can reuse it. The other thing that I can do is I can, so the conversion tools and wiring are something that's pretty interesting for most. I can also do things like convert, under the conversion tools, I can convert just a piece of text that you might use now for creation of a destination arrow. I can convert something that is just an AutoCAD block. So just a piece of text that's been created here. And I'm going to convert that to a destination symbol. Select the wire end for the destination. And it just asks me for a code. Just use a simple, whatever your standard is. Go with destination 1. Give it a description. You can use some of the default settings here. Again, there's a lot that's been pre-done for you that makes this quicker and easier. Select OK. There's our destination 1 information. And it's going to go ahead and delete, if I leave this set, it's going to delete the AutoCAD and replace it with an AutoCAD electrical block that has more intelligence built into it. Now we'll go ahead and select the objects and a wire for the destination. So now there's an attribute information associated with that block. And there are some functions, you see here that it's previewed the fact that there is a potential for a source and destination, but it's unaware of where the connection's been made. So just simply defining the source would then give the cross-referencing here in this information automatically. And you can see as I hover over that, it's been actually added to that layer called SYMS, which was one of the things that we can make modification to, or it's just a default behavior of the software. The other thing we can do is things like, converting an existing symbol to an intelligent AutoCAD symbol. So this PB1, this push button 1, that's sort of a block, right? If you hover over it. Oh, in this case, no, it's just text, it looks like. So let's convert that to a block. So again, from my conversion tools tab here, I can go ahead and make an adjustment to I'm going to convert it to a schematic component. And the way I would do that is to simply select the objects, which would be the push button device here. It'll bring up the schematic symbols library that then allows me to determine, what type of push button I want to use in this case. Let's just go with a normally open push button. I can turn on my grid settings here, snap mode, to maybe make that easier. I'm just going to place it right over the existing one. And I can put the information in here. This particular push button, we'll call it PB1. You can give it a description, push button. We can also do things like assign it a location, which is probably something you're already doing, but it might be difficult to accomplish. I can actually pull a location from the project itself because we're working in this project environment. I can either pull it from this drawing, the one that's open now, or I can do a project-wide, and it will look at all the locations in the project and give me an extensive list of everything that's there. In this case, it's just the master control cabinet. So that's another nice thing that really helps us to make sure we're working to a standard and we're not referencing things that don't exist, that type of thing. So now it's dropped in the intelligent block. Since we're just doing the one, I'll leave it alone. So you can see now we've got this intelligent group of objects. If I right click on that to do a modification, so right clicking usually is an edit, you can see where I can edit the component. I can move the component, I can scoot it around, flip it, reverse it. I can surf to maybe associated items or components. Whereas that's not necessarily the case. I've just got this piece of text that's on 0 layer that's set to by color that's left from the original. So that's certainly something that's very easy to accomplish, and converting that over so that we got information about these devices. For example, just taking that a little bit further, if I choose to edit the component, I can now come in and add, I've gotten my logic figured out, but now I want to actually define a device, for example. So if I wanted to assign some information, I could do a lookup in the catalog database for push buttons. I can pick from a list. The list of devices that are here is fairly extensive. Let's grab Alan Bradley. So it's giving me the catalog lookup information. It's giving me the table it's been looked up from, etc. So in the process of doing this, we're really making this a lot simpler. Now, because this device might be related to another device on the same circuit, it's giving us this informational message that there might be an issue, right? If I change this one and give it some intelligent information about the manufacturer, well, technically that's a change to the device. And what am I going to do with that information? What would I like to accomplish? It's just a cautionary saying that, look, it might not match the other parents for this push button device. And I could say, you know what, let's just take me and process the update. So I can have it push the change through to the other device. I can have it pile these things up in a task. I've got 20 more changes to make, and I don't want to do these independently. When I'm done with the 20 changes, I just want to update all the parent and child relationships currently, or I can just choose to skip. It's not a favorite for me. Typically, I wouldn't want to skip these, although I could always come back and run something, run a report that showed the things that have been skipped and have been cached. In this case, it wants to go out away from this drawing to look for the parent and wants to do a save. We'll just go ahead and accomplish that. Let the system do what it wants to do, and it will search out the references. It will go from device to device where those references have been made, and it will make the updates. And as that occurs, once that occurs, it just brings us back into under the sheet and looking at the device that we just made intelligent. So you can really see how adopting this product is very helpful with regards to getting some intelligence and automating some of those difficult time-consuming processes that you currently have. There's a lot more, obviously, that we could go through here. Just the conversion tools is pretty extensive, and many of these have little sub menus and utilities that are provided. So hopefully this has wet your whistle, giving you some ideas on where to start when it comes to deploying, implementing, and using the AutoCAD electrical product.